Greetings and welcome to Hex Encountered. I'm Joe. We are continuing our gameplay for the game The 12th Battle, the Caporetto campaign, 1917, published by Hexasim and designed by Hermann Luttmann. And we did the setup and some preliminary bombardment, which is part of the full campaign onto Rome. And we are ready to actually get into gameplay. So just to remind everybody here, because we're just going to dive right in. So we've done the deploy Allied Army activation chits phase, and we've also done the CP activation points phase, and we have 12 activation points for the Central Powers. We also have 10 command assets, which I will try to show you this without dumping all the counters off of it, but you can see the activation track with the Italian activations on it. You can see on the activation point track, we do have 12. We have 10 on the command assets track. No victory points, and the Cadorna dismissal track is on 0 right now, and then you can see our available CP activation chits there up in the corner. All right, I managed to do that without destroying it, so that's a good sign. And we are now ready to go on to the next part of the game here. So you have, we did, as I mentioned, the activation points phase. Then you have your CP, heavy artillery, and storm battalions phase. Okay, so this same action points as bombardment combat, except +1 action point or activation point if placed adjacent to 10th or 11th Army. So those armies are along here, from here all the way around. They're kind of on the, I don't know, less well supplied, tougher terrain kind of portion of the line. The main push is likely to come in this area. We did our preliminary bombardment here and did some damage to the Italian defenders, weakened them a little bit, so we can try to perhaps assault. We will be doing some assault combat, as my mouth was trying to get ahead of my brain there. But we've got a couple units right here. This is a pretty strong location, and these two are also pretty strong locations. This one's not too bad either. We're going to try to push in and perhaps knock some of these units out of here and begin the advance. I went through what all of the terrain means and your transit lines and what the colors mean, which is supply level and things like that. So if you did not watch part 1, I guess what I'm saying here is that you should watch it. So check out part 1 just to get the overview. It's not overly long. You can watch it and get an idea for everything that's happened up till now. Now we're going to actually get into playing a little bit. And so I think what we will do, since we have so many action points, okay, the first thing we have to do is pick which army we're going to activate. So I'm thinking we're going to activate the 14th Army, which is here, here, and here. So these are Germans. And the rest of the line is made up of Austro-Hungarian forces. So I'm going to take my 14th Army chit, which is right here, and I'm going to place it in the 1 spot on my activation track, because that is the first army I'm going to activate. Okay, now as far as the artillery, we could do this, because again we have 12 activation points, but you need to be cognizant of how much the activation points cost. So we do have, so let's just say we were going to do assault from here to here, which is one of the things we can do, right? So a CP unit may assault 1 allied unit in an adjacent space. Allied units target, well, we'll talk about the allies when we get to their turn. So you would, basically the assault combat attack, you can see the action point cost there, the activation points. Keep calling them action points. I believe they're activation points, but AP. So 2 for a normal assault combat attack, right? And then you have 1 with the 14th or Asanzo. for a storm battalion attack, 3 if you do that with 10 and 11, and +1 if there's no line of communication. The line of communication is just tracing back to your supply source. They are literally all sitting on their supply sources right now, our Central Powers forces. So by my calculations, I should be able to attack here with either of these 2 units. So we have here, you can see this is Unit A, and there's some essentially flavor text there at the bottom, but you can see the name of the unit, right? And so this one has an assault strength of 4. So that's pretty strong. And then this one is the other one in there. And this one is actually Austrian and has an attack strength of 3. So when we talk about assault combat, let's just do that first. I'm going to skip heavy artillery and storm battalions right now. There is a risk, in addition to spending the AP to activate them, there's also a risk with them. If you roll a 1, you can see it right here. If you roll a 1 on any die, it eliminates the heavy artillery marker. So I'm going to actually save that because our preliminary bombardment already softened up some of these guys. So we're just going to try to push in. Okay, so here's how we do this. We take our unit that's attacking, and I'm going to attack with the stronger German unit. And we're going to put him in here. Now this one can still support because he's in an adjacent area. There is a transit line that connects them. And we are crossing a trench line, so they're going to get a bonus for being behind trenches or in trenches. So the way this works is you take the attack factor for the attacker, which in this case I believe is a 4, right? So 4, it's the red number in the upper right corner. So that's 4 dice that he'll get to roll. And then the defender gets their combination of their attack factor plus their artillery factor. Now this is for their firing back. So that's a 4 as well because it's 2 plus 2. They get to use their artillery. And then you also use your defense rating, which in this case is a 3, plus they're going to actually get, well, we'll go on here in a moment. They get the terrain bonus, which for mountains is 2, and for trenches is 2 more. So they're getting a +4. However, we do have some modifiers for them here. So you can see that they get a -1 on their defense rating. So that's actually only a 2. Okay, and then they get a -2 on their attack, which makes that a 1 because it cannot go below 0. And the other one is also a 1. So they get a 2 for their attack factor and a 2 for their defense factor. And then they get, they also get a they get a +2 and a +2. So that's going to be a +6 on the die roll, which I think might make it impossible for them to actually hit. But they get 4 dice +1 for their offensive support. You add 1 die, as long as they're not depleted or broken. Okay, so basically anything above a 6 just becomes, a 6 is always successful and a 1 is always a failure. It basically is what it boils down to. So this combat takes place simultaneously, and I know I'm not zoomed in. So the German attack here is going to get 5 because 4 for them and 1 for that one. So we're going to roll here, and we need 6s to hit. And we got 1 6. So that inflicts 1 hit. Now we need to roll for them. And they get 2 dice because they're both 1. Both of these got reduced to 1 each, so they're going to get 2. Their defense is a 5. So they need a 5 or a 6. And they got 1 5. So that's 1 on both sides. Now, because both of those were actually equal to the morale rating or the defense, which is basically the, well, oh, the defending unit's DR can never be greater than 5. Okay. So it was a 5, which means that So their defense rating is a 5, and we rolled a 6, and we had a 5 as well. So the 5 is a morale hit, and the 6 is a hit. Now, the morale hit becomes a hit because their morale, even though it's a 3 here, is actually a 2. So they take 2 hits, right? So with them already being depleted, the first hit would put them to broken, and then the second hit, decimated, which removes them from the board, and they go in the reforming Italian unit box, which is down here. And when they will come back as a reformed unit later on, and that means that this unit takes that spot, but they also took a morale hit. However, their morale is a 5, which is above a 2. So you need 2 morale hits to inflict an actual hit. So they do not take any. They do not take any losses. Okay, so now let's see what to do next. So that cost us 2 activation points, and I'm going to move my activation point marker down to 2. Now each unit can take 3 actions. So if I wanted to, I could push on with this guy and move him here, and then perhaps here. And that would be 3 actions, and that's a move. And for movement, we can see here 2 for crossing a bridge and none for entering a clear. But we entered hills, and hills cost 1. Okay, so we went from here to here. That would be 1 for entering the hills. And then we go here, which is 1 for the hill, but 2 for the bridge. That's a total of 3, which means we spent 4 activation points. So we go from 10 down to 6. All right, so now he's done. And they have markers that you can put on here that say activation finished. So you can keep track of who you moved and who you did not. So I'm just going to put that on top. Now we'll activate this guy, and he's going to do a movement. Okay, and he's going to move into the mountains, which costs 1. He's just going to move here. And I think I'm going to stop him there, because when we attack here, he'll be able to support the attack of this unit. So that cost us 1 more. We're down to 5. Now he's also finished. I'm just going to do one activation with him. So we'll drop that on there. Now we come here, and we're going to say this one is going to attack there, and he's got a 4 as well. Right? So he's got a 4 as well. We're going to attack here. Now we do the same thing. So this one has a -1. He's only disrupted, so that's the 2nd level. So he takes a -1 to his morale and a -1 to his attack, his own strength points. So this 3 becomes a 2, but his second 3 for his artillery remains a 3. So that becomes a 5 for him. He's got the same thing as this one did. So he's got a 3 defense strength, and he gets, it's going to be a defense rating of 5 because of the 2. He gets a +2 for the trench and a +2 for the terrain. So he defends at a 5, and he attacks at a 4, right? No, a 5. He attacks at a 5. So both 5 and 5. His morale is a 2. Actually, his morale is a 1. So his morale is not good. Now he's going to attack, and we're going to get an extra die for him, so that gives us 5 dice again. Let's roll our 5 dice. And not particularly good, because his defense rating's a 5. We inflicted 1 morale hit. Now, because his morale's only a 2, that will become a hit. Okay, so now let's roll for him. Now he's got 5 dice as well, and their defense is a 4. And he got a 5 and a 6, so that's 2 hits. So he's inflicted 2 hits on this unit. but he's also taken a hit, which is a morale hit, but because his morale is a 2, it becomes an actual hit. So this depleted gets upgraded to, actually that was disrupted, it gets updated to depleted. So we replace that with this, which is worse, of course. So he's now there. And then he took 2 hits. So that will mean he gets a disrupted marker, which is what we just took off the other unit. This is what that looks like. So he gets that. Now, determining the winner is based on number of hits, and he inflicted 2 hits on him, whereas he only hit once here. So the Germans lose, and they stay put in that box. Okay, so now we'll move on. We have one more group here, one more area. That is these 2 guys right here. They will attack this guy. So he is a disrupted. So he's got a -1 for his attack, a -1 morale. Okay, so his morale becomes a 2, and his attack is a 3 and a 3. So that's going to become a 2 and a 3. So that's a 5. Okay, so he's still got 5 dice. This one's a 3. And he will get 1 from his buddy. So he's going to roll 4. So I'll roll let's roll the Italian first this time, since he's got 5. And he needs a 4 for a morale hit, a 5 or a 6 for a real hit. Ooh, 3 5s. So those are all hits. And so he's got 3 hits. 3 hits. That's a lot. So that is depleted. Right here, depleted. So this guy's going to be depleted. Now we'll roll his 4 dice. And he's got to make a 5 for a morale hit. And a 6 for an actual hit. So 4 dice. And we got 1 morale hit, which again, because his morale is already reduced, is an actual hit. So he flips from disrupted. He goes to depleted as well. But he had 3 hits. And the Germans only inflicted 1. So he's going to have to retreat and stay put back here. So you see, you got kind of your World War I attritional warfare. It's tough. It's a tough road to hoe for the attackers, as you might expect. I mean, this guy up here, well, it's this guy, got lucky. Now, we do have a breakthrough there, which is nice. And these guys can't get to this spot. But some of these other ones back here could perhaps pull back. Cadorna, one of the reasons he got sacked is that he was not a particularly good or aggressive general, and he kind of berated his troops and just all around not particularly effective as a leader. So we'll see what happens when we get to the Allied turn, which is going to happen right now because we've just finished with the 14th Army. So they're done. Actually, they're not done because this guy has the ability to attack as well. So we'll try. Oh, I forgot to move my activation points down. So we had an attack here. So that would have cost 2. And then we had an attack here, which would also have cost 2. So we're down to only 1 point. And so I think what I'm going to do is just call it a day and say we're good, because I can't really do much here. I can't do another assault. I could do a bombardment attack. So let's do a bombardment attack. So here's a bombardment combat. You can see 1 AP from supplied green outline space, which is where we are. So first, let me just say that this guy, well, he's done, and these 2 are also done. I'm just going to put a thing on there, and then I'll put this on here, just to show their activation is completely done. So we're down here now, and actually we're not. We're here. This guy is going to go. His bombardment rating, I think, is a 4. Yes, it's a 4. Okay. So with a 4, we're going to roll 4 dice, I believe. So we'll go through the bombardment attack that we didn't do earlier. So if we go to bombardment combat, and by earlier I mean in part 1, because there are special rules for the preliminary bombardment or heavy artillery bombardment. So if you have an AF of at least 1, you can conduct bombardment combat. All right, so you get to roll the number of dice that equals their AF rating, which is 4. The terrain defense is the only thing that you'll use here. So trenches is a 5. Okay, and there's a maximum limit of 1 hit that can be inflicted by any single bombardment combat roll. Okay, so they're going to roll 4 dice, and if they roll a 5 or a 6, it'll turn into a hit, and they can only have 1 hit, so at most. So we'll see what we get here. And they got a 6, so that is 1 hit, and that will flip this guy from depleted to broken. So now he's got basically 1 step left before he gets decimated and has to head to the reforming box. So that finishes their activation now. And I'm going to remove this because we know the 14th Army has already been activated. So we'll just remove those guys. Now, I flip the unit right here to see what army they're activating. It is the 2nd Armada. Okay, so the 2nd Armada is these guys right here with the white. Okay, you can see the white color helps you find them. So they are activated, and we draw a card from our Cadorna deck. We'll take the top card, and we look at the 2nd Armada, and it says fighting withdrawal. Okay, so we have to execute that. I'm going to put this in the discard pile. One of our 3-player aids is this one right here, Allied Orders. Okay, and there you see fighting withdrawal. Okay, so it says all units that are depleted or broken retreat 1 space. Okay, so he's depleted, so he has to retreat 1 space. His marker goes with him. This one is broken, so he would have to retreat 1 space as well. And because he's broken, this one's disrupted, so he does not do anything, okay? Or units conduct bombardment first. Okay, so the 1 unit that did not retreat is this guy right here. And why is my autofocus screwed up now? This guy right here. So he is going to do bombardment first. So his artillery is a 3. So he gets 3 dice. And it's the same deal. It's a defense of 5 because of the trenches. So he's going to roll 3 dice. Can get at most 1 hit. And needs a 5 or 6. And he's got a 6. So that's 1 hit. So they are going to get a shaken marker, which is the 1st level of hit. 1st level of damage. This is frustrating me with this doing this now, and you can see it only affects their morale. All right, so that one is that, and I believe that completes their activation because that was the last. Oh, actually, that's the 3rd Army. Oh, and it would be this one that would have attacked. And it's the same number. So he would have attacked here. So we'll put shaken next to that guy. They're the same. They're literally identical in terms of their ratings. So it doesn't really matter which one I put it on. Actually, that's not true. This one has a higher morale rating. So I would say they would probably attack that one. Let's just go with that, okay? All right, so that would complete their activation. And so now we would go, right? So you have your Allied activation, then you go to your end phase. Actually, we don't go to the end phase. We've only had a couple activations here. We go to the 3rd activation. So I'm going to roll 2 dice for the Central Powers to see how many activation points they get. And 10. 10's a good number, so I'm going to put this to 10. Okay, and let's see if I can work in a command point or something here. So since we just did the 14th Army, let's do the Asanzo Army, which is this guy, these guys right here. It's small, which means maybe I should do up here because it's a lot of it's a lot of activation points that I have. So I will grab the Asanzo Army here, the green, and we're going to put that in the 3 slot. Okay, and we will now, yeah, I'm just going to go with the Asanzo, and we'll worry about these guys later. Yeah, okay, so let's do, since we didn't do it before, let's do some heavy artillery here. And so if we're going to do heavy artillery, and we don't have to spend extra because it's not the 10th or 11th armies. So we just have to spend the regular cost. Same AP as bombardment combat, except +1 if placed adjacent to the 10th or 11th. So I'm going to put these two in here. So we're going to do that one, and we're going to do this one. Okay. That costs us 2 AP, which will move us down to 8. So because they got 3 dice, and because of the being heavy artillery, the defense is always 4. So in this case, the defense here is 4, and we're going to fire, and we've got, you can see on here it says 3. That's how many dice it provides you. And again, if I roll a 1, that means it's going to be eliminated, and there are only 5 of these. So we got to hope for the best. We don't want to roll a 1, and we want to roll higher than a 4. Well, no 4s, but we got a 5 and a 6. So the 5 and 6 would be 2 hits. So we apply our 2 hits to the defenders. So I did not mention this, but you're supposed to designate which, when you have 2 units in the same spot, which is true in this case because there's a garrison there, you have to designate which one is your target. For me, the target is the unit, not the garrison. Okay, so we got 2 hits, and they're both 5 and 6, so they're not 4s. 4 would be a morale hit. 5 or 6 is a real hit. So this guy is going to take 2 hits, which is disrupted, which is the 2nd level. We've seen it a few times. Why? There you go. Okay. So he has that now, and now I use this, and it goes back in the box because we've used it, and now we try with this guy. So it's the same rule, right? His terrain is a 4, and yeah, I think it's automatically a 4 regardless. Yeah, it's 4. He's got the trench line and all that stuff. So same thing, 3 dice. We don't want to roll a 1. We want a 4, 5, or a 6, ideally 5 or 6. And 2 4s and a 5. So his morale, and I forgot, I made a mistake earlier, they get a +1 for the trench, and then they have a minus, so it's a 3, which means 2 hits, morale hits, for 1 real hit. And obviously the 5 is a hit. So that would be a total of 2 more hits. And he was disrupted, so that would put him at the broken level. Oh, that's the wrong counter. It's this guy right here. You can see broken. That goes there. And we remove this. Thankfully, we did not roll a 1. Okay, now we can also do storm battalions here. So you have to place them adjacent to a CP unit. It's 1 AP if it's the 14th or Asanzo, 3 if it was the 10th or 11th. So we're not using the Asanzo is activated at the moment. Resolve assault combat, but no defending unit dice, no defender terrain modifiers, no offensive or defensive support dice. They're flipped over to their battle-worn side unless a 1 was rolled. If so, it's eliminated instead. So we have 5 of these. Okay, and they're useful because you get 6 dice, right? And then when they're battle worn, it's a 4. Okay, so we could try and use one right now. I'm actually inclined not to, because these have limited use, and are probably best used for cracking something difficult. And so we're not going to use them at this point. I'm going to instead, and so we still have 8 because we only used 2 for the heavy artillery. We're now going to do some assault combat. I think maybe we should let's do bombardment first. So we'll do a bombardment here with our shaken unit, which has a 4. Okay, so this is a regular bombardment. So the terrain, I'm pretty sure, is going to be pretty decent here. So let's take a quick peek here and make sure that I'm doing this correctly. So cities get a 5, which is the same as the mountains and hills all get a 5. Trenches get a 5. Clear gets a 4. Okay, so plus they have the trench, which doesn't really matter except for the morale rating thing. So again, we're going to target the actual army unit in there from the second army, the second armata, which is already activated. Okay, so we get 4 dice, and we need a 5 for a morale hit and a 6 for a actual hit. And we got a 6, so that's 1 hit. And that will flip this from disrupted to depleted. Makes it a little bit easier here. Okay, so that one is, well, he's not done yet. He has 2 more actions. But I guess I can assault with him now if I want to. Maybe I should. His strength isn't affected, but his morale is. So if he attacks, he's got a 3. He'll get 1 for this guy, which makes 4. They've got a -2 and a -1, so they're going to take a -1 on their bombardment, which I think is a 4. No, it's a 3. So the 2 will become a 1. It should be a 0, but it can't go to 0. It has to be at least 1. So 1 and 2 is 3, so they get 3 dice. Their defense rating is they lose 1 on their morale, which is the 3 in the white circle, and 1 on their defense rating. So it's a 2. Now, they are in a city, and they are across the trench line. So in that case, looking at my assault rules, for the city, they get a +2. And for the trenches, they get a +2. So they're going to be a 5, because that's as high as it can go. So they get 4 dice. So we're going to roll, and we'll roll the 4 for the attackers first, from the Austro-Hungarians. And they got a 4 and a 5. So taking into account the +1 for the morale from the trenches and the -1, they offset, and it's still a 3. So you would have needed 2 morale hits, which we did not get. So they get 1 hit. So they get 1 hit, which is going to flip them to broken. And then they will get to attack, and they get, what did I say? A 1 and a 2 is 3. They get 3 dice, and they need a 4. And they got 2 hits. So this guy is going to go from shaken all the way down to broken. Yeah, that's pretty bad for him. Which means he will not be able to support this guy's attack, which is going to happen next. So I'm going to put activation finished on him because he's done. And now we'll move on here, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to bombard them first. Well, wait, let me do this. So he bombarded, which was 1, and then he assaulted, which was 2. So there's 5 left. There's 5 left. Well, we want to take well, we can't take the city itself because we got the garrison there. I might have screwed that up. I'll have to look at the rules to make sure that they don't get additional for the city garrison. I also need to check to see if the garrison actually gets revealed, or it only gets revealed when we attack it. Yeah, they were supposed to get an additional die for the garrison, but I don't think we reveal it yet until it's the target of the attack. So he gets 3 dice, I think. Yes, 3 dice. So if I assault, that'll leave us with 3, and that would allow him to both bombard and then assault. of course, if he bombards with his 3 dice and we get 1 hit, we would only need 1 hit to, let's try it. I'm going to spend the 1 for the artillery attack. And so we get 3 dice. I'm going to roll them. We need a 5 for a morale hit, which would in this case count as a hit because his morale is actually down. We're -2 now, and we got 2 5s, so that would be 2 morale hits anyway. So he is going to be moved. And now we can assault, and we'll assault the garrison. I think we flip this guy over. So you can see here, the white box around that garrison marker, the 5 there at the bottom, means that that is the defense rating. You don't adjust it for anything. Even if you did, that's the max anyway. But you can see that they're not easy to defeat. And I'm inclined maybe to just bombard them again, because I think you can do that. So let's do that. Let's bombard this garrison. So the defense rating again is a 5. We're rolling 3 dice. And we got a 6, so that would be 1 morale hit. Now it's 2, but I think they get the benefit of the, let me check, but I think they still get the benefit of the trench marker. Okay, yeah, so you can only get 1 hit. So that didn't work, and now we're down to 3. So I think you have to finish your move with 1 unit before you can move on to the other. So I can't say, oh, well, let me see what this guy does and then go back and finish him. We're just going to finish him right now. We'll hit that garrison next turn. Okay, they can't move, so they're static. Now, here, I can't both assault and bombard, so I am simply going to assault. So we're going to move him in here. He's got an attack of 3. Now they are, before they were broken, they had a 4 and a 3. So that would have been 7, but they lose 3 of those, so it's down to 4. So they have 4 as well. Their morale is a 2, with the +1 becomes a 3, and their defense is a 2. So they're 2, and they would get 2 from the trenches and clear. I don't know if clear gives you anything, actually. Clear is none. So their defense rating is a 4 in this case. So he's going to roll 3 dice and needs a 4 for a morale hit, and a 5 or 6 for an actual hit. And 1 hit will remove them. 2 4s, so 2 4s equals 1 hit, because they're 2 morale hits. So we're going to say, okay, you have been removed. And that means he wins the combat and gets to stay there. So, and that is 2 activation points. So that finishes their activation. And we go on to the next activation for the Allies, the Italians in this case. And we're going to flip this guy over. And it's the green, which is the First Army. So the First Army is over here, because you have the red, which is the Third Army. White is the Second Army, and the blue is the Fourth Army. So I'm going to put that there, and we're going to draw a card. And this is First Army, and it says defend. So let's see what defend indicates here on our Allied order chart. Defend. So all units that are in trenches, mountain, city, Piave line, or bridge do not move, or units in any other type of space but adjacent to any of the above-mentioned terrain spaces move into that space. If between 2 spaces, they go backward if Cadorna and forward if Diaz. Otherwise, units do not move. Or if units are adjacent to a CP unit and did not move, they will conduct bombardment. Okay, so they are both in a mountain hex. So they will conduct bombardment because they are also adjacent to the Central Powers. Same here. with these two. And that's the whole army. So we've got 4 units. They're all going to fire. Let me take my activation finished off of here. They're going to fire, do bombardment attacks on these units right here. So we'll start here. He's got a 2-2. So 2 for that guy. So he's going to roll 2 dice. Needs a 5 for a morale hit and a 6 for an actual hit because they're in the mountains and trenches. And he got a 6, which means a maximum of 1 hit, but that is a hit, so they get a shaken. Okay, and then these guys would be finished. So now we'll do the other one, and they have also 2. So we'll do the same thing. 1 and a 2, so no effect. Okay, we'll move on here. This one has a 2 as well. And this one is 3. So that one's a good one, but we're going to start with the 2. So let's see what we get here. Another 1 and 2, so no hit there. And now the last one, he gets, whoops, he gets 3. So we got 3. And 2 hits. Well, a hit and a morale hit. Now his morale's a 3. Plus he gets a morale bonus, so it's actually a 4. And so there's only 1 hit. So they get a shaken as well. All right. So that is that, as they say. Now, let's do event because I want to... well, let me roll for my activation first. Let's see what we get here. And it's a 6. So 6 isn't great. I mean, it's not terrible. And actually, given that... I'm going to activate the 11th. I don't know. There's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. That would only cost me 2 to do a regroup. So no, I'm going to pull the event. So there's a chit here called event, which is right here. Okay. I'm going to put that on 5. And then I'm going to grab the Central Powers event table, and we're going to roll 2 dice. So let's see what happens with our event. That is a 7. Rommel attacks. German A unit of the 14th Army, Kraus 1, may assault an adjacent space or move 1 space and then assault combat an adjacent space. This move has no cost, or it may regroup and remove 2 hits for free. If this unit's eliminated, treat it as all quiet. Okay, so the A unit is this guy right here. Sorry, I was looking at the map. This is the unit that has Rommel. They are right here. So they could move 2 spaces if I want them to. They can move 1 space and assault, or move, may assault or move 1 space and assault. Well, we don't need to regroup and remove hits because they don't have any. Or assault. So I guess we can move them up. I'm leery of like risking getting my supply lines snapped, but we're going to risk it. So we're going to move Rommel there. And that would end their activation. Now let's go to the next allied and see what we get. And we get the blue, which is the 4th Army. Which means one of the 2 left is the Commando Supremo, and the other one is the 3rd Army. Okay, so let's draw our Cadorna, and 4th is Retire. Now this is what gave that guy such a great fighting reputation, because Retire here, all units that are depleted or broken always retreat 1 space, or units in trenches, city, piave, line, or bridge space do not move. Units in any other type of terrain will retreat 1 space. On game 1 and 2, the 2nd and 3rd ignore this order. Okay, so we're not the 3rd. This is the 4th. So the 4th are the blue, which would be these guys here. So Units in trenches, city, piave, or bridge. So that's none of these guys. So they're all going to retreat one space. Starting here. So he's going to go here. He's going to go here, 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 because you got to follow the lines. I guess that's it. So they've just opened themselves up because he's a bad commander. And once I activate the either the 11th or the 10th, they'll be able to advance. So that's what we're going to do here, because that's the end of that. So I'm going to do a little bit more. I would like to finish a whole turn, but I don't want the video to be too long. So let's just move on. Okay, so we're going to activate the... let's activate the 10th Army. Okay, so that's the 10th. Actually, you know what? I changed that. That was the 11th, actually. We're going to activate the 11th Army. That's what I wanted to do. That's these guys, the white. So here, 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 and here. So we're going to do a regroup action, okay, which they're in a supplied area, green. They're in a green area. It costs 1 action point to regroup, which removes a hit. So we're going to take these 2 markers off, and that costs us, I forgot to roll. 12. Well, I don't need 12. That costs us 2. Okay. Actually, it costs us 1. This guy, we can only do them 1 at a time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Now we'll do a bombardment with this guy. So bombardment from here, I think, costs more. No, it does not. Assault. Assault would cost more if I used a storm battalion. Okay, so let's just do a normal attack here. Normal bombardment attack there. Our artillery is a 3. There we go. So they get 3 dice. They are in trenches, so the max hit is 1. Their defense is a 5. 2 6s. So we only get 1 hit, and we have to pick which unit we wanted to hit. So let's just say this guy, and he gets a shaken. Now we're going to do that again. That costs us 1 more, so we're down to 10. I'm going to do it again. And 5 is a morale hit, which in this case does nothing. Okay, so they're done, because that was 3. And they're down to 9 as an army here. Now we'll spend 1 to remove that, which leaves us with 8. And we will do a bombardment here. They have 3 as well, so same thing. We'll attack this one. Actually, no, let's attack this one. I'm going to attack this guy. And that's nothing. So that's down to 7. Now we'll try again. And that's also nothing, so that's 6. And now he is done as well. Okay, now we'll try... This one will attack here. He's got 2. And yeah, well, why not? We'll try a bombardment. He's only got 2, though. And that's nothing. So I'm only going to burn 1 on him, I think, because we want to move these other guys up. Well, it only costs 1 to do that. So let's try it again. So since we have 5, we can do it again. And we still get nothing. So I'm going to mark him as done. Burned an action for no use. We have 4 left, which is good because we're going to move this guy here, which costs 1. That leaves us with 3. Then he's going to bombard. He gets 3. Yep, he gets 3. He will bombard this unit right here. 3. And he got a 5 on one of them, which is no, because the morale. Oh well, the morale's still a 3, but yeah, that's nothing. So now he would be done because I need to move this guy up, and he's got only 2, but we'll have him attack this one and see if we get lucky. And we don't. So they're done as well. So that completes the activation. Let's remove all of these. Okay, now we'll draw our next, and we get the third armada. All right, third armada. So we draw our card, look at the third armada. It is attack. Okay, so they are going to attack. Well, this should be fun. Now the third is the red one. And that's this guy right here. And I think he's the only one left. Yep, they only had two, and now they only have one. So he's going to attack this guy, I guess, which is across a bridge, but I don't know that that matters for them. So attack. They're not broken or shaken, broken, disrupted, whatever. They're not. They have no damage. Units adjacent to CP unit conduct bombardment combat first. Then, if at least one hit was scored, units conduct an assault attack. Okay, so they're going to attempt a bombardment attack. They have two. Okay, his defense in a clear hex isn't great, I believe. It's a 4, and because they're not in trenches, they can take more than one hit, and they get one hit. So because they got one hit, they will now assault. Okay, so they have 3, and they have 7. Yep, they get 7, and their defense is a 4. Okay, so they get 5 attack dice, I guess, or 6 rather. So because of the bridge, they actually get an additional defense rating, so it would become a 5. And so let's do the attacker first. So he gets 3 and needs a 5 for a hit. And he got a 6, 4, and a 3. So that's one hit. Okay, so that would become disrupted. Now they get, well, they only have a minus to the morale. All right, so we take this and we go for 6 dice because they have a rating of 7, and I don't think you can go over 6. They only give us 6 dice, so I'm going to assume we can't use 7 dice for this. But I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm just going to roll 6, so let's just do this. We need, I guess, a 3, which is defense rating. So we have 2 3s, which would be equal 1 hit, and then a 5 and a 6, which would be 2 more. So he would get 3 hits, and he inflicted 1, so he would lose. And because he's got 3 hits, he goes to depleted, and then that's the end of their activation. So now I only have the 10th Army left, which is these guys here. So we're going to activate them, and we'll start right here and move this guy down and have him bombard. And he's got 3 dice, and he'll attack, I guess, this one. Whoa, that was a 2. So 6 would be 1 hit. So he gets shaken, not stirred. And he spent 2, and I forgot to roll for my activation points again. All right, let's see what we get here. 9. All right, so that leaves them at 7. Oh, and I didn't talk about command assets yet, and I meant to do that. These are the things you can spend them on. So you can get an action point bonus. So if you did not have enough AP to conduct a certain unit action, so they are action points. I've been calling them activation points sometimes. But you can also use it to get a 4th unit action. You can use it to keep a storm battalion if it gets eliminated. You can improve your supply level, and you can also re-roll all your dice. So each of those costs 1. We have 10. There are some events that can give you more, so it's not like you're hard locked here into that. So so we're at 7. We did a bombardment. And I think that's, well, we're going to do another bombardment. So he is what, 3? Yeah, 3. So let's roll our 3 dice, and hopefully none of them will pop out this time. And none did, but that also, they do take a morale hit. The morale is a 2. We got a 3 and a 2. So that would, I think, be 2 morale hits. So I think that would make that a depleted, right? Yeah, depleted. Okay, now he's done. We'll drop that on there. And he did, we had 9, he moved, and he did 2 bombardments. We're down to 6. Okay, now we'll take this guy. He'll go here. That costs 1, so that's down to 5. Now he will assault. Maybe we'll bombard first. He's only got 2, I think, though. Yeah, he's only a 2-2. Maybe we won't assault. We could assault this guy because he's a little weak. He's only got a total of 3 between his factors there, so that's not a bad one. But we're going to bombard him first. So we get 2 dice. His defense is in mountains is a 5. I think I screwed this up, actually. I did. I screwed this up. I screwed up the bombardment results from this guy. I'm going to put him at none, I think. Yeah. Did I get a 5? I think I did get a 5 once, so we're just going to make him shaken. I screwed that up, and I just realized it belatedly. So now let's do this one. So we need a 5, and we get to roll 2 dice. 5 or a 6. We got a 6, so he also gets a shaken. Okay, so he gets a shaken as well. And now we will assault, even though he's only a 2, I think. Yeah, he's only a 2. This guy is a total of 3, so that's not terrible odds. The defense with the mountain, I think, because there's no trenches now, so that's why this is worth trying. Mountain defense is +2 to his defense rating of 3, so it's a 5. So he's got 2 attack dice +1 for his buddy over here, so he gets 3. And that was a fail. So he did no damage. Now he attacks with 3 dice, and his defense is a 4. And that's 3 hits, 3 morale hits. And his morale is a 4, so that equals 1 hit. So he ends up going back, and he gets a shaken. Okay, so he spent, what, 4? Because he moved there for 1, then he bombarded, that's 2, then he assaulted, that's 4. So we're down to 1. We're down to 1 activation point. So which one of these has better artillery? That's a 3. And this one is a 4. This one's a 4. So we're going to have him do a bombardment here. So he gets 4 dice. And it's mountains, so the defense is a 5. We got a 5 and a 6. The 5 would be a morale hit, but it's only 1 because he's got a 3 morale. But the 6 is a solid hit, so he does get 1 hit. And they are in the trench anyway, so the most we could have gotten is 1 anyhow, because they did not retreat. So that ends that, and that leaves us with the last Italian activation, which is Commando Supremo. So we will go and look at our card, and you can see what you got here at the bottom for Commando Supremo. Okay, so we have to discern the symbols, and you go, I think, left to right, and then the second row. The question mark is an allied event. So I'm going to roll 2 dice on the allied event table. Whoops. 7. That's a popular number. And the allied events are on the back of the central power. 7 is all quiet, no event. Okay. Our second thing is the 2 entrenchment, it looks like. Build 1 Piave line trenches. Place 1 trenches marker on the southernmost Piave line space with the trench garrison side up. Okay, so the trench garrison is this guy right here. This is a trench garrison, and on the back is a trench. So the Piave line is right here. So I'm going to put that guy there. Then we go to rally armies. Each Italian army only, starting with the Italian 1st Armada, then 2, 3, 4, takes 1 random decimated Italian unit located in the reforming Italian unit box from that army and places it in the next game turn space on the game turn track. Make sure it's showing its reformed side. Note there's no limit to how many times a decimated Italian unit can return to the game in this manner. Then recovering, find the 1 unit in each army with the most hits against it, and that unit recovers 1 hit. Okay. And it's not, it is a ×2. Conduct these procedures for 2 units per army. And then we move the Cadorna marker up 1 space in this case. Okay. So the Cadorna track, I'm going to move it to 1. It was on 0. Okay. And now to do these rallyings and so forth. So we're going to take, we have units from both the 1st and 2nd and 3rd, armies, these 2, which are now reformed. So we got these 2 right here. This is their reformed side with the green stripe on it. You can see they're actually a little better than they were before, perhaps. I'm going to put them on turn track 2, because that's where we're about to go to. I'm going to discard that card. And then we do recover. So unit that is the most, we have a broken unit right here. 1 unit in each army, including the, okay, so he would get 1 step back. So from depleted, that would become disrupted. That's the 3rd army. And this one, that's broken, so I'm going to flip that over. Then this one would also get flipped because it's 2, because we have double. So that depleted now becomes disrupted. So that's that guy, I think. And then, well, they're the same army, so he would stay shaken. These 2 would get theirs removed. And that's it. Oh, and he gets 1 removed as well. Okay, so that ends game turn 1. Now we would go to the end phase. So let's just talk about that real quick so I can wrap up the video here. So at the end of the phase here, we go to the end phase, right? Unless all armies have been activated, and now we proceed to victory point. So territory captured, we would calculate that. And for every full 20 victory points you have accumulated, we would move the Cadorna space. So for victory point schedules, we had 1 victory point. Okay, so we had 2 units that were decimated, 3 that were decimated, and their strength were 2, 4, 6 total. So you get 6 victory points for that. And then after that, that gives us 6, as I said. Get 1 for every captured spot, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, 1 for every 4. 4, 5. So they have 5 from that, which means 1 victory point. Cities, we didn't capture any cities, and we didn't get to the Piave line yet. So I think we are at 7 victory points so far in one turn. Not exactly overwhelming. You got to capture cities. So obviously, if we can start, if we can take Gorizia and Udine, and start pushing in this direction, then we'll be in good shape. So once you do that, okay, so we don't get any movement on Cadorna either. Then we would go to Cadorna. At 50 victory points or more, you can get the allies to send forces over. And then at 100, you start losing Germans to the Western Front. Okay, and then we would move to the next one, which would be trench removal, moving our trench removal for trenches in captured spaces, which we don't have any to remove at the moment. Then we would have the game turn marker move up, and we would go to the deploying the Allied Army activation chits again. So you take your chits off of the track here. I'll probably just stick them here and shuffle them around and then put them back out upside down again, which is what I did in part 1. If you watched that, you saw that. Then we would deploy the 2 units that are right here that would be returning to play as reformed units. And they get deployed in the Piave line muster spaces down here. Okay, so that is going to do it for this video. We're over an hour, so I want to pull the plug here. So kudos to anybody who actually watched the whole thing. I'm always impressed when someone sticks it out. We live in an era of very short attention spans. So if you did watch the whole thing, kudos to you and thank you very much. I do want to also offer my shout out to my members. I have 2, and they are Tom Marshall and Guardian. They are both countered level supporters. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you for your support. If you'd like to support through joining, you can do so. Click the join button, and you get 24-hour early access at the countered tier, and you get some emojis and member badge at tier 1. Tier 2 also gives you access to the Discord channel for Hexed Encountered. And there may be more stuff down the road, but for now, that's what's on offer. If you don't want to do that, which is fine, then I ask that maybe you'll consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing. If you're already a subscriber, of course, thank you very much for your support. But yeah, we are done. Depending on what kind of reaction we get to this, I may do more. But it's probably more likely that I will move on to something else. But feel free to offer any questions, comments, etc. on the video, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. But otherwise, we're done. Until next time, I'm Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. Happy gaming.